Recently, I was reading Rebecca Ross's Ruthless Vows from the Letters of Enchantment duology when I noticed a pattern. She writes with filter words. And I found that very interesting. The other book that I read from her was the book one of this duology, Divine Rivals. I really enjoyed it. And I don't have the book right now, so I couldn't check. But I don't remember being so bothered with this a particular way of storytelling. And in this book, it was bothering me. So I decided to pick up some excerpts and try to study and see how it affects the story and the narrative and the prose, and what we can learn from this usage and this way of writing. We are going to pick up 5 excerpts from this book and analyze them. Let's begin, shall we? Excerpt number 1. Iris, Addie, I need to speak with both of you. Addie stopped typing, rising without a word, as if she had been waiting for it. But she chewed on her lip, and Iris knew her friend was just as anxious as she was. Whatever the Chancellor had come here to say must have been about them. Iris followed Addie to Eleanor's office. Okay, so here the filter word that we have is new. Breaking down this sentence, we have Addie stopped typing, rising without a word, as if she had been waiting for it. That is from Iris's perspective. We are looking through Iris's eyes. But then when the sentence go, but she chewed on her lip and Iris knew her friend was just as anxious as she was, there was a little distance that was created. We are no longer looking through Iris's eyes. We are a little bit further. We are further away from Iris. And someone is telling us what she is realizing. And that is a completely different thing from the sentence before. It's sort of like disconnected the reader temporarily from Iris's mind. And that, of course, used sporadically throughout a novel. It's not a big deal, but if used very often, that can be very jarring and that can damage the reader's experience and the reader's understanding of the story. On top of that, we also have the fact that it's a redundancy. This book is written in third person limited. That means that we have access to Iris's thoughts, emotions, feelings. We are seeing through Iris's eyes. So saying something like Iris knew, it is redundant because everything that we are reading is Iris's experiences, emotions, etc. So we don't need to say something that is already implied, the choice of narrator type. Okay, with that said, how would we edit this? Here, actually, it's very simple. We can take out Iris knew and replace with a semicolon. Just a simple semicolon. The edit will be something like this. Addie stopped typing, rising without a word, as if she has been waiting for it. But she chewed on her lip. Her friend was just as anxious as she was. So here it could be a semicolon or it could be an em dash. I think either way it works well. An em dash is a bit more dramatic. And that way we remove this distance and the message is exactly the same. We remove the distance, we remove the redundancy, and the reader feels still a part of the team and not someone that was kicked out for a single sentence and then put back in again. Excerpt number 2. Forgive me for dropping in unannounced, he replied, although Iris could tell he was not at all remorseful. Iris could tell, but we couldn't. So, again, we are denied access to Iris and to what she was saying. With just one word, language is so interesting. With just one word, we experience different things. And it's amazing, honestly. His expression or behavior wasn't at all described or, to us as readers. So we were in a blank canvas almost in terms of what we could have interpreted from the situation. Basically have to take Iris's word for it, which is fine, but it's not necessarily what we want. I always think that stories are made of what the reader's interpretation of them are. So if there's no interpretation, it feels like it's almost just a report full of facts, and that's not a story. And to add to the situation, this character has never been in this book before. We know nothing about him, literally nothing about him. So not even our knowledge of the character is useful for us to interpret the situation or to agree or not with Iris. If perhaps we have known this character, we know their behavior and all of that, maybe because we had, sort of the backbone, the foundation to make that interpretation the same way as Iris did. But in this case in particular, we don't have anything. He is a blank sheet of paper to us. So saying something, like she could tell he was not at all remorseful, is just, it's just a fact. It's just a fact. It's not an interpretation, and it doesn't mean anything to us, the reader. At least to me, I was like, sure. Sure, I guess I'll trust you. What am I supposed to do with this information? It's still, like I always say, it's still up to discussion. Art is art, and writing is an art. I meant art is subjective. That's what I mean. Because obviously art is art. Basically, resorting to the filter expression could tell is retracting the value of this whole interaction. Excerpt number 3 has a similar issue. It goes like this. Do your scars hurt all the time? She said. No, don't worry about me. She didn't believe him. She could tell he didn't feel well on most days, and the thought was painful to her. So again, how do I know this? We have not been here for a while. This is the second book, and we have not been present throughout these days that he feels bad. So again, we have to take Iris's word for it, and it is what it is, but it could have been more. This in a scale of valuable, this is sitting like in a 2 out of 5, and it could have been a 5 out of 5 if we, like I said before, showed instead of telling, letting the reader experience the story instead of telling them and reminding them that they are reading something and not actually living it. But with that said, there are exceptions. Of course, there's always exceptions to the rule, and there are times where filter words are necessary and filter words add to the story and to the reader's experience. So let's go through 2 of those examples. Excerpt number 4. I should be home by 5:30, she said, stepping into the damp morning air. Redacted nodded, but he stayed in the doorway wearing a concerned expression. Iris could feel him watching her as she descended the silk stairs. So the sentence, Iris could feel him watching her, it's one of the best ways to describe that feeling of having someone looking at us. It's an expression that makes us almost feel like his stare is penetrating Iris's skin. Here's the thing, why does this work and others before didn't? This filter expression is the result of Iris's emotions. The last 2 examples that we gave, the filter words were replacing valuable information. The others were retracting that emotion, were discarding that emotion. But this one is actually attributing the emotion, is a result of the writer, in this case, expressing the Iris's emotions. So it's one of the reasons why it works. Not only the distancing one can feel and the idea of someone watching her, it's essential for us to experience this as Iris is experiencing. So then we have excerpt number 5 of the Haute Gazette. So she's picturing someone from her past, right, in an almost forgotten memory. And by using could nearly see, Ross is actually providing the reader with the same experience as Iris is experiencing. That was a lot of experience in one phrase. You know what I mean? Like, we feel that distance, like, could nearly see. You can also nearly see, and that's the whole point. It's that the reader can experience the story as the character is experiencing it as well, by providing us with this distance, but in this case not to Iris but to the memory. We can understand her emotion of, this is so far away from me that I don't know if I'm not going to lose it eventually. In conclusion, every rule is a guideline and is supposed to be weaved and crafted as the author writer so chooses. However, you have to be mindful about what you use and how you use it. We tend to think that rules don't apply to us, that we are special. The truth is that 99.9% of us are the rule, not the exception. My advice is, consider yourself the rule until you know how to be the exception. Don't use filter words until you know how to use them, until you know the craft well enough to know that you are creating a better story because you are using these filter words. Okay? If you learn anything from this video, let it be that. Anyway, with all that said, I hope you liked this video. I hope it was informative. I hope it made sense to you. If it doesn't, if you have any questions, just leave them below. I always try to answer them to the best of my knowledge. I try to explain I love talking about writing and all of these nerdy things. So feel free to comment. Feel free to subscribe if you like this kind of content, if you want this kind of content. I love making these videos. I love studying others and analyzing what they do and try to improve as a writer, try to become a professional writer, which is essentially my goal. So if you want to also learn something and to listen to me yap about all these writerly things, do subscribe. I want to build a community of writers and I want it to be a place where we become better. So until the next time, bye bye.